are on day 108 of the chronological Bible in a year. Take a breath and take a moment to celebrate that you have set this time aside to hear God's word. We're going to be moving between 1 Samuel, 1 Chronicles, and Psalms. Let's begin in 1 Samuel chapter 26 at verse 1. Then the Ziphites came to Saul at Gibeah, saying, "Is David not keeping himself hidden on the hill of Hachilah, which is opposite Jeshimon?" So Saul set out and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, taking with him 3,000 chosen men of Israel to search for David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul camped on the hill of Hachilah, which is opposite Jeshimon, beside the road, and David was staying in the wilderness. When he saw that Saul had come after him into the wilderness, David sent out spies, and he learned that Saul was definitely coming. David then set out and came to the place where Saul had camped. And David saw the place where Saul lay, and Abner, the son of Ner, the commander of his army. And Saul was lying in the circle of the camp, and the people were camped around him. Then David said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai the son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother, saying, "Who will go down with me to Saul in the camp?" And Abishai said, "I will go down with you." So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Saul lay sleeping inside the circle of the camp, with his spear stuck in the ground at his head. And Abner and the people were lying around him. Then Abishai said to David, "Today God has handed your enemy over to you. Now then, please let me pin him with the spear to the ground with one thrust, and I will not do it to him a second time." But David said to Abishai, "Do not kill him, for who can reach out with his hand against the Lord's anointed and remain innocent?" David also said, "As the Lord lives, the Lord will certainly strike him, or his day will come that he dies, or he will go down in battle and perish. The Lord forbid that I would reach out with my hand against the Lord's anointed. But now, please take the spear that is at his head and the jug of water, and let's go." So David took the spear and the jug of water that were at Saul's head, and they left. And no one saw or knew about it, nor did anyone awaken, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord had fallen on them. Then David crossed over to the other side and stood on top of the mountain at a distance, with a large area between them. And David called to the people and to Abner, the son of Ner, saying, "Will you not answer, Abner?" Then Abner replied, "Who are you who calls to the king?" So David said to Abner, "Are you not a man? And who is like you in Israel? Why then have you not guarded your lord the king? For one of the people came to kill the king your lord. This thing that you have done is not good. As the Lord lives, all of you undoubtedly must die, because you did not guard your Lord, the Lord's anointed. And now see where the king's spear is, and the jug of water that was at his head." Then Saul recognized David's voice and said, "Is this your voice, my son David?" And David said, "It is my voice, my lord, the king." And he also said, "Why then is my lord pursuing his servant? For what have I done? Or what evil is in my hand? Now then, please let my lord the king listen to the words of his servant. If the Lord has incited you against me, he may accept an offering. But if it is people, cursed are they before the Lord, because they have driven me out today, so that I would have no share in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, 'Go serve other gods.' Now then, do not let my blood fall to the ground far from the presence of the Lord. For the king of Israel has come out to search for a single flea, just as one hunts a partridge in the mountains." Then Saul said, "I have sinned. Return, my son David, for I will not harm you again, since my life was precious in your sight this day. Behold, I have played the fool and have made a very great mistake." David replied, "Behold, the spear of the king. Now have one of the young men come over and take it. And the Lord will repay each man for his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord handed you over to me today, but I refused to reach out with my hand against the Lord's anointed. Therefore, behold, just as your life was highly valued in my sight this day, so may my life be highly valued in the sight of the Lord, and may he rescue me from all distress." Then Saul said to David, "Blessed are you, my son David. You will both accomplish much and assuredly prevail." So David went on his way, and Saul returned to his place. Then David said to himself, "Now I will perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than to safely escape into the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will despair of searching for me any more in all the territory of Israel, and I will escape from his hand." So David set out and went over, he and the 600 men who were with him, to Achish, the son of Maach, king of Gath. And David lived with Achish in Gath, he and his men, each with his own household, David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's widow. Now it was reported to Saul that David had fled to Gath, so he no longer searched for him. Then David said to Achish, "If I now have found favor in your sight, have them give me a place in one of the cities in the country, so that I may live there. For why should your servant live in the royal city with you?" So Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Therefore Ziklag has belonged to the kings of Judah to this day. The number of days that David lived in the country of the Philistines was 1 year and 4 months. 1 Chronicles 12, starting at verse 1. Now these are the men who came to David at Ziklag, while he was still restricted because of Saul the king of Kish, and they were among the mighty men who helped him in war. They were equipped with bows, using both the right hand and the left to sling stones and shoot arrows with the bow. They were Saul's kinsmen from Benjamin. The chief was Ahiezer, then Joash, the sons of Shema, the Gibeathite, and Jeziel and Pelet, the sons of Azmaveth, and Berekah, and Jehu, the Anathothite, and Ishmael the Gibeonite, a mighty man among the 30, and in charge of the 30. Then Jeremiah, Jahaziel, Jonathan, Jozabad the Gederathite, Eluzai, Jeremoth, Bealiah, Shemariah, Shephatiah, the Haruphite, Elkanah, Ishiah, Azarel, Jozer, Jashubim, the Korahites, and Jolah, and Zebediah, the sons of Jeroham of Gedor. Continuing 1 Samuel 27 from verse 8. Now David and his men went up and attacked the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites, for they were inhabitants of the land from ancient times, as you come to Shur, even as far as the land of Egypt. David attacked the land and did not leave a man or woman alive, and he took the sheep, the cattle, the donkeys, the camels, and the clothing. Then he returned and came to Achish. Now Achish said, "Where did you carry out an attack today?" And David said, "Against the Negev of Judah, against the Negev of the Jerahmeelites and against the Negev of the Kenites. And David did not leave a man or woman alive to bring to Gath, saying, otherwise they will tell about us, saying, this is what David has done, and this has been his practice all the time that he has lived in the country of the Philistines. So Achish believed David, saying, he has undoubtedly made himself repulsive among his people Israel. Therefore he will become my servant forever. Now it came about in those days that the Philistines gathered their armed camps for war to fight against Israel. And Achish said to David, know for certain that you will go out with me in the camp, you and your men. David said to Achish, very well, you will learn what your servant can do. So Achish said to David, then I will assuredly make you my bodyguard for life. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel mourned him and buried him in Ramah, his own city. And Saul had removed the mediums and spiritists from the land. So the Philistines assembled and came and camped in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they camped in Gilboa. When Saul saw the camp of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. So Saul inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him, either in dreams or by the Urim or by the prophets. Then Saul said to his servants, find me a woman who is a medium, so that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, behold, there is a woman who is a medium in Endor. Then Saul disguised himself by putting on different clothes, and he went, he and 2 men with him, and they came to the woman by night. And he said, consult the spirit for me, please, and bring up for me the one whom I shall name for you. But the woman said to him, behold, you know what Saul has done, that he has eliminated the mediums and the spiritists from the land. Why are you setting then a trap for my life to bring about my death? So Saul swore an oath to her by the Lord, saying, as the Lord lives, no punishment shall come upon you for this thing. Then the woman said, whom shall I bring up for you? And he said, bring up Samuel for me. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice. And the woman spoke to Saul, saying, why have you deceived me? For you are Saul. But the king said to her, do not be afraid, but what do you see? And the woman said to Saul, I see a divine being coming up from the earth. He said to her, how does he appear? And she said, an old man is coming up, and he is wrapped in a robe. Then Saul knew it was Samuel, and he bowed his face to the ground and paid homage. And Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? Saul replied, I am very distressed, for the Philistines are waging war against me, and God has abandoned me and no longer answers me, either through prophets or in dreams. Therefore I have called you, so that you may let me know what I should do. Samuel said, but why ask me, since the Lord has abandoned you and has become your enemy? And the Lord has done just as he spoke through me, for the Lord has torn the kingdom from your hand and given it to your neighbor David. Just as you did not obey the Lord and did not execute his fierce wrath on Amalek, so the Lord has done this thing to you this day. Furthermore, the Lord will also hand Israel along with you over to the Philistines. So tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. Indeed, the Lord will hand the army of Israel over to the Philistines. Then Saul immediately fell full length to the ground and was very afraid because of Samuel's words. There was no strength in him either, because he had eaten no food all day and all night. The woman came to Saul and saw that he was utterly horrified, and she said to him, Behold, your servant has obeyed you, and I have taken my life in my hand, and have listened to your words which you spoke to me. So now you too, please listen to the voice of your servant, and let me serve you a piece of bread and eat it, so that you will have strength when you go on your way. But he refused and said, I will not eat. However, his servants together with the woman urged him, and he listened to them. So he got up from the ground and sat on the bed. Now the woman had a fattened calf in the house, and she quickly slaughtered it. Then she took flour, kneaded it, and baked unleavened bread from it. She then served it to Saul and his servants, and they ate. Then they got up and left that night. Now the Philistines gathered together all their armies to Aphek, while the Israelites were camping by the spring which is in Jezreel. And the governors of the Philistines were proceeding on, leading hundreds and thousands, and David and his men were proceeding in the back with Achish. Then the commanders of the Philistines said, What are these Hebrews doing here? And Achish said to the commanders of the Philistines, Is this not David, the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, who has been with me these days, or rather these years, and I have found nothing at all suspicious in him since the day he deserted to me this day? But the commanders of the Philistines were angry with him, and the commanders of the Philistines said to him, Make the man go back, so that he will return to his place where you have assigned him, and do not let him go down to battle with us, or in the battle he may become an adversary to us. For how could this man find favor with his Lord? Would it not be with the heads of these men? Is this not David, of whom they sing in the dances, saying, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? Then Achish called David and said to him, As the Lord lives, you have indeed been honest, and your going out and your coming in with me in the army are pleasing in my sight. For I have not found evil in you since the day of your coming to me to this day. Nevertheless, you are not pleasing in the sight of the governors. Now then, return and go in peace, so that you will not do anything wrong in the sight of the governors of the Philistines. However, David said to Achish, But what have I done? And what have you found in your servant since the day that I came before you to this day, that I cannot go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king? But Achish replied to David, I know that you are pleasing in my sight, like the angel of God. Nevertheless, the commanders of the Philistines have said, He must not go up with us into the battle. Now then, rise early in the morning with your servant of your Lord, who have come with you, and as soon as you have risen early in the morning and have light, leave. So David got up early, he and his men, to leave in the morning and return to the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. 1 Chronicles 12, verse 19. From Manasseh, some also defected to David when he was about to go to battle with the Philistines against Saul. But they did not help them, because the governors of the Philistines sent him away after consultation, saying, At the cost of our heads, he might defect to his master Saul. Psalm 56, pleading for help and grateful trust in God. For the music director, according to Jonath Elam Rehokim, a miktam of David, when the Philistines seized him in Gath. Be gracious to me, God, for a man has trampled upon me. Fighting all day long he oppresses me. My enemies have trampled upon me all day long, for they are many who fight proudly against me. When I am afraid, I will put my trust in you. In God, whose word I praise, in God I have put my trust, I shall not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? All day long they distort my words, all their thoughts against me are for evil. They attack, they lurk, they watch my steps. And as they have waited to take my life, because of their wickedness, will there be an escape for them? In anger, make the peoples fall down, God. You have taken account of my miseries. Put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book? Then my enemies will turn back on the day when I call. This I know, that God is for me. In God, whose word I praise. In the Lord, whose word I praise. In God I have put my trust. I shall not be afraid. What can mankind do to me? Your vows are binding upon me, God. I will render thanksgiving offerings to you, for you have saved my soul from death, indeed, my feet from stumbling, so that I may walk before God in the light of the living. Thank you for listening. I pray that the seed of God's word will be planted in your heart and will continue to grow.